to you. We'll provide you with the link for the video so you can watch it on your own time, and so on and so forth. Okay, in addition, if you're not familiar with the Zoom webinar UI, I'm going to be just basically going through the presentation here. There is a Q&A section at the on your Zoom webinar bar there. You can just enter in any questions you have throughout the webinar in the Q&A section there. I'm going to get to that at the very end, so probably like the last 10, 15 minutes. Hopefully not too much longer. We'll answer questions in the Q&A section there. There's also a chat window. I'm not going to be answering any questions from the chat window, just so you're aware. So don't put anything in there unless you really want to. I still discourage it, actually. I'm going to be providing links, a couple of links to put in the chat window. So you can go ahead and check out those links as I'm moving through the webinar. Okay, so I think we'll just go ahead and get started. Not too much more to introduce here. On the screen, what you can see right now is you can see a quick little IRay render that I did on the left here compared to the original here in Character Creator 3. This render was done in, I'd say, 15 minutes using my NVIDIA GTX 970. Okay, so this is not by any means an exceptional render from an exceptional video card. I'm using basically your run-of-the-mill kind of computer right now. I'd recommend, if you want faster results, do something a bit, get a better computer. But for me, this is what I'm working with because this is what a lot of our users work with, and I'll kind of just go at the same rate. Okay, so you can see beautiful eye reflections on the eyes, and the skin texture on the hands especially is a lot more detailed. And of course, the lighting, photorealistic lighting with IRay. I'll show you how to do this closer to the end of the webinar. We may not have time to get through all the stuff. I want to talk a little bit about Unreal Import as well. But let's go ahead and just get started first of all. So the first thing we're going to do is create a Daz character. We're going to import the Daz character along with a custom OBJ clothing item into Character Creator 3. We're going to apply that custom item to our Daz character, and then we're going to export. We're going to add some Relusion content onto the character as well, and then we're going to export it to Unreal. We're also going to just show you how to create a quick little render in IRay. Okay, and that's the one you see on the screen right now. Okay, so I'm going to get started. Again, we have limited time here, so I'm going to go ahead and get started in Daz, just so you're aware of how we created the character that we have on the screen. This is a page character from Daz. The base of this character is a Daz Genesis 8 character. Okay, so one of the characters you can import flawlessly into Character Creator 3 using our transformer tool. Okay, and we have a bunch of tutorials as well. If you have any questions in the Q&A section about any of the stuff I go through, pretty much everything I'm going through right now is covered in our tutorials. We've just uploaded a few recent ones here. I'm just going to give Paige here some clothes. So I can provide links for those. They're probably like within the 10 most recent videos uploaded on our YouTube channel. But anyways, I'm just basically setting up our Daz character. We're not going to go into too much detail here. There is one major issue that we need to talk about with the Daz character. Now, with this particular character, in a lot of characters, when you add like shoes on the character, what might happen in some cases is you might go to, like, for example, if I select the sneakers in my scene manager here and I make them invisible, what may happen is when you apply certain items of clothing to your character, it may automatically remove the mesh underneath your character's clothing. So for example, this one, generally when you add these sneakers, it's going to remove the character's foot mesh. Now I've done a little something, and we cover that in our tutorial on common issues for importing Daz characters. And I'll just go ahead and really quickly find that actually. It's a pretty important tutorial. Whoops. Let's just go Daz issues import. Maybe this will find it. Character creator should be fine. There we go. See, YouTube's pretty smart. This one here. So this is a tutorial done by yours truly, and I'll just provide a link in the chat window for you guys for this one here. Okay, if you want to check it out on your own time. Oops. All panelists and attendees. There we go. There you go. Okay, so basically the first part of this tutorial here deals with, should I show my screen? Am I showing my screen here? I believe everyone should be able to see my screen. Okay. All right, anyways, so we're going to continue on here. So yeah, within the first like 5 minutes of this tutorial, it tells you all about how to fix that issue. And so I won't go into too much detail in this webinar just because it's a pretty easy fix. Okay, and what I've done is I've used method 2, which is the method you actually go into the item that your character, like for example, if I go into wardrobe and I go to shoes, and you just right click and go to browse to file location. There's a data section under the Daz library data. And you can just search for whatever item you're using. So for example, I'm using these page sneakers. Okay, so I'm just going to search for page. And here's the page sneakers folder. So this is kind of like the import data for when you apply the item to your character. And this GF8 page sneakers. Okay, so basically I just went into this. You can open it with whatever editing software you use. And I went into this little area here. You can just Control F and search for graphed, which is kind of a command that dictates which polygons are hidden and whatnot, and just delete that whole thing. Again, that tutorial that I just provided you a link shows the entire thing. So I'm not going to go through that in this webinar because I just want to save some time here. Okay. So yeah, make sure you check out that tutorial if you are importing in from Daz. Very important. Okay. Cool. All right. So we have our Daz character. It should be all good right now because we don't have any. Just make sure you have no meshes hidden or anything like that. Okay. And you should be able to export just fine. So go to File and Export. And we can just call it whatever. I'll just save it to a custom folder here. Webinars, CC3 webinar. Okay, let's create a new folder here called temporary, because temp is too short. Okay, so we'll just call this test character. Okay, and import it in. Now, important here, there's a couple of items here that you need to make sure that you pay attention to. You do want to deselect embed textures. Okay, so with the most recent update that we've made, we actually just made this update a few days ago. You want to make sure that you deselect embed textures for Daz, okay? And FBX 2011 binary, and just go ahead and accept and export that. Okay, so that's really all we're going to be doing in Daz here. So once this is finished uploading, I'll close Daz down. Let's start a new project in Character Creator. We can go ahead and save this one. Sure, why not? Let's just call it page render ready. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start from scratch. When you just load up Character Creator 3 and Daz, we can close down that. We don't need Daz open anymore, just to save us some resources. Okay, so what we're going to do is when you have your character started off like this, you want to go to the transformer tool. So the transformer tool is a tool that allows you to import in Daz characters into Character Creator 3. Its dedicated purpose is just that, importing Daz characters into Character Creator 3. So let's go to the transformer tool and let's find that in the temporary folder, let's find that test character that we brought in before. Now here's the new important feature that we just updated a few days ago. So this is not in any of the tutorials yet. The basic method of importing your character, if you use the basic method and you don't bake the body when you import, it's just going to basically import in your diffuse and opacity maps. That's it. Okay, if you don't bake the textures, which I'll show you in a moment. If you use the advanced feature, let's actually just close this down and import this one in here. Okay, so the advanced feature basically will import in, it'll automatically detect all the Daz texture files and import them all in. So for this particular import, obviously we want to choose the advanced option, okay? May take a little bit of extra time, but not too much. Now, if you choose the basic function, what's going to happen is it's not going to recognize all of those Daz textures. It's going to assume you're not importing in Daz textures, and it's just going to replace any missing textures with Character Creator generated characters or Character Creator generated textures. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So if you use basic and you import it in, you're saying like, why does my character still have metallic and roughness maps? Well, that's because it automatically generates it, okay? So let's make sure that that is the right character there. Not sure why that didn't import incorrectly. Anyways, another thing we'll do right after this is we'll go ahead and import in our OBJ file. This did happen once before, but I thought the issue may have been resolved. Okay, let's go ahead and use the basic version then and see if that works. If not, it may require a restart, but generally when you import in your character, you should have it appear right here, okay? So let's go ahead and start with the, if this doesn't work, we're just gonna load up a project that I already have prepared, okay? Okay, so let's load up that project then. And I'm gonna just load up this page with iContent, okay? Which one should we use? Okay, so this is something that particular to my particular computer, and it happened before, but we resolved it, and it just seems like it happened again. So maybe a bug on my particular computer just to work out. But we'll load up the page character anyways, and I'll show you a couple of things here. We'll import in the, actually, you know what, before we do that, we need to import in that shirt. So, okay, so this is what the character will look like when you finally imported it in. But before we do that, I want to import in the custom OBJ shirt. Okay, so I'm just going to start a new project real quick. And the shirt we're going to be importing in is this one here. So I'll provide this link in the chat window as well. And you can download this one yourself. Okay, I'm going to put it in the chat window there for you. So you can download this one for free from our website. And you can go through this process yourself, just test it out. And I also wanted to mention that we have this page here with a bunch of like brand new character creator content. I'm going to put this link in the description as well, or in the chat window rather, not the description. So this has a bunch of really cool brand new content, including the IRay materials, which we'll talk briefly about a little bit later on. This Light Studio, I'm going to be using this for the IRay render. Okay, and a couple other older packs. The supermodel one here is brand new as well. And we also have this Dawn and Dusk starter combo. So make sure you check out that page. A lot of cool content there. So we'll just close all this stuff down for now. Okay, so to import in your OBJ file, again, this is in the tutorial. What you got to do is go up to Create, and you want to create a cloth, hair, or accessory, okay? And what we're going to import in is that OBJ file that I downloaded from Sketchfab here, all right? So this is this t-shirt T-pose, okay? Now, if your item of clothing or your accessory or whatever is, not conform to a T-pose, I do recommend creating all your clothing items with a character in a T-pose. It makes things much easier. Okay, so that's what we did with this particular shirt here. So it'll import onto your character and you think, oh, wow, that was easy. What we can do is just delete this bikini top here just to avoid any breakage on the mesh. I'll show you how to fix that a little bit later. But what will happen here is it looks okay, but you need to make sure that you transfer the weights, the skin weights from your clothing to your character, okay? So if I did something like this, for example, this pose, you can see, whoops, it'll pop out like that. And let's just move down there a little bit. Probably should have kept that bra on there, but we need to restore it back to an original T-pose here. Okay, so what we need to do is make sure that the item is selected and go over here to our modify panel, and we need to transfer skin weights, okay? So transfer skin weights, we can just select default, okay? And that's really all you need to choose, just that one default item, and go ahead and apply. So what that does is that basically transfers the skin weights from the shirt to your character, and it just kind of glues it on there, I guess you can say. Okay, so now if we do the same kind of pose, then it'll be properly conform to your character's body. So this is a procedure that, many years ago took hours and hours almost to do, to basically just adjust skin weights from character clothing items to your character's mesh. Now we can do it with a single click, so you can see really useful, really quick procedure and very easy to do. Okay, so we have that shirt. Let's just go ahead and put her back in a T-pose here. And if you want to save that shirt for later use with other characters, all you have to do is just go over here to your cloth item, or cloth section rather. I'm going to go to shirts and custom tab. And you can see I've already saved it as test shirt right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just save it again just to show you. You can just press add here, and we'll just call it, cool shirt, whatever. Okay. So basically that is now saved as a shirt, and you can apply it to any character in Character Creator. All right. So let's go ahead and load up that project that I loaded before here again one more time. A page with iContent here. Okay, now she already has the iContent applied to her. There's one thing that you're going to need to do that I missed because the import didn't come in correctly. And that's when after you choose that advanced option that I showed you earlier, you're going to need to select the layers for each item of clothing, okay? So for example, I'll show you that in just a moment, but you're also going to need to assign, like the hair needs to be assigned as a hair item, okay? The shoes need to be assigned as shoe items, and any accessories like the glasses or whatever need to be assigned as accessories, okay? Now, unfortunately, I can't show you that window, but that is also in that tutorial, that Daz import tutorial there. Okay, so here's our character. Let's go ahead and just delete a couple of the things here because I want to show you from scratch how to do everything here. Okay, so with the Daz character imported in, she'll have her own shirt. Okay, obviously she's not going to have like this kind of outfit. Okay, and the sneakers and everything like that. So what I want to do here is let's just move my GoToWebinar panel out of the way here. We can go up to modify here. And we want to go to, modify and cloth layer settings. Okay. So you can see she only has 2 items right now. She has the shoes, page sneakers. Those are selected as level 1. Okay. And the dungarees or the overalls, and those are set to level 5. Okay, so what we can do here is go ahead and just throw on the shirt that we just saved to our character. We can also do other shirts, like for example, one that I like to use is this Kohlrabi Studio. This is a content pack from one of our developers, the school uniform one. You can throw that under there as well. Before I show you the one that we just imported as an OBJ, I just want to show you another quick example there. All right, it should come in any second. You can see, holy smokes, there's a lot of problems there. So what we got to do here is go to Conform. And in Conform, there's a couple things you can do. One thing you can do here is you can increase the size, for example, of the actual dungarees. All right, so if I select the dungarees here, we can also go to Edit Mesh, and we can make certain parts of the mesh invisible. Like we need to make sure we select the right thing here first. All right, so you can make sure that you have certain parts of the mesh invisible. Going to sculpt or select face rather. And let's just select this part of the clothing right here, maybe right here, just like that. And then you can just hide it, okay? Make sure you have it all selected. You can hide it like that. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you can do that manually, or you can do it automatically as well. But I'm just gonna go ahead and delete that shirt because I wanna focus on the OBJ shirt that we imported in. Okay, so I'm gonna go out of Edit Mesh here, and I'll just go ahead and delete that shirt for now. And we'll load in the shirt that I just had before, this custom cool shirt here. And when you do that, you need to make sure that we do the same thing. So again, modify rather, cloth layer settings here. And in the cloth layer settings, this is the section where you can automatically hide the mesh. Now, I could have done that with the previous example. Sometimes it works. It works fairly well in most cases. You just need to make sure that you set it on the right level. Okay, so this t-shirt, it can be imported as like, whatever level. You can change the collision order. Sorry, I did that too fast by going over here to the settings here and changing the order. There's a section in the wiki that shows you, you know, which level or which layer you should have which item of clothing. It generally just goes like underwear to shirts to coats and so on and so forth. 10, of course, is being the top layer. 1 is being the lowest layer. Okay, so we can set this shirt to like 4. It doesn't really matter. As long as it's lower than 5, and just press OK. And then we can go ahead and run collision. And when we run collision, it's going to try and automatically detect. It's going to have a tricky time here, kind of automatically detecting which part of the shirt to hide. Okay, I thought my computer crashed there for a second. That's good. But when we auto hide the mesh, it'll just basically get rid of all the stuff we don't want. Okay, so that did like an okay job. Now you can go in here and you can manually clean this up, or the easiest way to do it is just go ahead and select auto hide mesh. Okay, this is kind of like the lazy man's way to do it. And when you use auto hide mesh, it should get rid of most of the mesh breakage, but you may see some areas that you need to clean up. It may hide certain faces that you don't want hidden. So you just have to basically do a quick workaround on your character and make sure that none of the meshes are hidden that should be, and vice versa. All right, so that should do the trick. Okay, so that did a fairly good job of hiding the mesh. Now you can see in the back, there's a little bit of an issue in the back here, a couple of issues in fact. And my favorite lazy man's way to resolve most of these issues is just to go ahead and select the overalls here. Make sure we have it selected and go to edit mesh here. Or sorry, not that one. We need to conform rather. Let's go to edit mesh here. Let's choose the conform tool up here. And I like to just increase the size, all right? This is kind of like the lazy man's way to do it, like I said. Okay, so you can increase the size to whatever, and it normally gets rid of any mesh breakage, okay, in the front. It seems like it resolved the issue there in the front. But for the back, unfortunately, we're going to need to do this manually. Okay, so the way you do this manually, and you can see the auto hide mesh there had an issue as well with the shirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select the shirt now. Make sure we have the shirt selected, and I'm going to edit the mesh for the shirt. Easiest way to do this is go to sculpt, and I'm just going to go ahead and choose, let's push this. Okay, so we're going to push the shirt kind of back into the overalls, kind of like tucking in your overalls, I guess. Okay, so let's just increase that intensity a little bit, increase the radius. Generally, a higher radius does a good job at kind of pushing stuff in. Okay, so you can see I'm just pushing it in there. Push, all right. And there you go. Okay, and you can smooth it out as well later if you want. And for an issue like this where the mesh is hidden but it shouldn't be, you need to push that in as well, actually. Okay, where the mesh is, you can see through right here. What you want to do is you want to select a vertex here, or yeah, let's select vertex, and let's just select all this. Soft selection there. And whoops, we need to go to face rather. Okay, so make sure we select all those faces, and we need to make them visible. Okay, so show, right? Make sure you select show, not show all or anything else, just show for those items you selected. Okay, so there we go. And you know, any things like this where there's, you know, jagged edges, what I'd recommend doing is make sure those are selected, like the dungarees are selected here, and go to the same thing, edit mesh and sculpt, and you can use the smooth feature, which is this one right here. Okay, increase the strength, and I like to increase the radius, something like that. And right over here. Okay, so a little jagged edge right there. Just click and drag, and it'll smooth that out. Okay, stuff down here, do the same thing. So smooth is a fairly useful tool just for kind of clearing things up at the very end. Okay, and if there's jagged edges around here, just do the same thing. Smooth that out nicely. Okay, and if there's breakage, so I increased the size of the dungaree or the overalls previously, so I can also pull these out as well, since there's a little bit of an issue right there. pull them out like that. Okay. And so it's kind of a process of just smoothing things out and, you know, getting everything done. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because you kind of can see the process at work here. Okay, just make sure everything is nice and smooth, and you should be good to go. Okay, so that's basically the clothing taken care of for the character. Now what you can do is you can just throw on accessories to the character. So I'm going to go over here to the accessory tab. I'm going to choose accessories for the head. And let's go to the template folder here. And I have this party fun pack. So I can just throw on these glasses to the character. There's some glasses down here. Now this character has fairly large head, so large head mesh when you apply it. Okay, you may need to resize it, so just press the R hotkey and resize it like this. That should be good. And we can move them by pressing the W hotkey. Let's move them down into place, something like that. And you need to be resized slightly again. So R, I'll just stretch them out just like that. Okay, good enough. I don't want to spend too much time on that. Now, with the glasses in particular, if you want, you can make these glasses transparent. Well, kind of a bit better, like better looking when you actually render these in IRay. It's not going to look as good if you have them like this, and I'll show you what I mean right here. With the glasses selected, let's go over here to our materials tab. And you can see we have shader type as traditional right now. So we only have a specular map. And for stuff like reflective stuff like glasses, we want to make sure that we use a PBR for that, PBR shader type. So let's go ahead and choose that PBR for both the lenses and the glasses. So the round glass material and the lens, same thing, okay. So when you choose a PBR type, it'll automatically give you a metallic and a roughness map here. And what you can do is you can adjust the metallic map. So this roughness map, I'm just going to take this roughness map, whoops, and go over here to adjust color and just take that all the way down. Okay, so we don't really want any roughness on our lenses. Okay, just take that all the way down. And metallic will do the opposite. Okay, whoops, keep on double clicking on it. So I'm just going to change my brightness here to 100 for the metallic. Okay, now you can modify this and adjust it a little bit later on as well as you want. And you can see now when we do that, we have a nice reflection. So this is a PBR reflection on our glasses. You can see it's basically just reflecting the IBL background right now. Okay, so this is ideally what you want when you're looking for photorealistic rendering. You want something like this. Okay, and the reason it's not 100% opaque is because down here under the opacity, we have the opacity set at 30. If you want your glasses to be like mirrors, then you can change that opacity up to 100. All right, so there you go. It's like those evil guys in the Japanese animations. They always have like super opaque glasses like this. All right, but we're not worried about that right now. We're going to go for more realism, so change that value back to 30. All right, you can also adjust the tint of the glasses as well. Just go to your base color map with, make sure lens is selected there, yep, and adjust the color. We can change our hue to maybe like -50 or something like that. And then you can see there's a slight tint. We can increase the saturation to like maybe 30 or something. And when we do that, you can see we get a nice kind of purple tint on the glasses. Okay. So I'm going to leave that with a purple tint and we'll go from there. All right. And for her hair, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually replace the hair, the current hair on the character. Let's go to our scene manager here and you can select the hair from here. Okay. So you can see we imported it in as a hair item, the little hair icon right there. I'm going to just go ahead and delete that hair and leave for bald for now. All right. We'll go to the content manager and throw on some hair. So with our base section there, we'll go into the hair section. And I've downloaded this Conforming Hair Volume 1 content pack, highly recommended, because we have the Agent Scully hairstyle in there, the A-line bob. All right, we can just throw that onto your character, and boom, there you go. Okay, very nice. Just applies directly to her head. All right, in addition to that, I forgot to mention as well, at any point when you're modifying your character, you can modify the morphs as well. Okay, so just a quick little aside here. I don't want to spend too much time on this. The morphs here, let's just move our little window over here a little bit. So with our character, once you import your Daz character into Character Creator, you can apply any of the morphs that you have, any of the Character Creator library morphs, any of the ones you've downloaded or purchased from the content store. So for example, full body, I'll just show you a couple of examples here. Let's try something like the bodybuilder one, okay? I'll make her like a strong bodybuilder. Okay, so we can really bulk her up like that. Okay, so maybe she's a power lifter or something. All right, so fun stuff like that. You can make her heavy as well. Just a kind of a larger body, okay? And you can see it affects the face as well. So pretty cool stuff. All right, any of these sliders you can apply. You can do stuff with the eyes as well. If I wanted to really enhance the eyes, make the eyes larger, I can just go ahead and type in like eye, for example. Make sure that we're in the head section there, head folder. And we can do stuff like, oh, I don't know, eyeball. Or, no, let's not do eyeball. Eye size, okay? So if we select eye size, we make the eyes larger. There you go, you can make the eyes larger or you can make the eyes smaller. Okay, just be aware of the effect that that has on your character's hair. If there's hair going over the character's face, and we have an issue with that, okay, we'll just leave this the way it is. You can do things like lips, for example, and increase the upper size of the lips or decrease the upper size of the lips there, okay? So every little aspect of your character, basically, you can modify. And once you've exported from Daz. Just a little aside there, I don't want to spend too much time on that. But let's go ahead then and apply a couple other things. So we applied those glasses already. I'm going to go to accessories here. And there's, in the same party fun pack, there's a ribbon, I believe, down here. We can apply that to our character, this ribbon headband. Okay. And this one will need to be resized as well because our character has a massive anime type head. Paige has, her head is too big for her body. All right, so let's resize that again using the R hotkey, and you can use the E hotkey to rotate it. Bring it down here, and maybe it needs to be a little bit larger. Let's just make sure that we bring it in a little bit this way, and there we go. That should be good. So you can still see it under her hair, okay, in the back there, and the front should be okay. We can rotate it slightly to the side using the E hotkey there. Okay, and I don't want to worry too much about the placement of that. You can make sure that's perfect on your own time. I think we'll work with that. That looks fine by me. Okay, so we've applied a couple of accessories to our Daz character. We've modified the glasses. I've showed you about the morphs and a couple other things. So I think what we'll do from here, we have extra time. Okay, good. So we can do a little bit of IRay rendering then, okay, with our character before we get into the Unreal stuff. So with your character selected, it's really super easy to render your character in IRay. What I like to use is the IRay render preview. Okay, you can also render it in the background, and we're going to be providing a couple of tutorials in the coming weeks about the IRay render. We've already released a couple of them, again, on our YouTube channel. But if you want to get into your character into a pose, if there's one thing iClone has, it's lots of animations and lots of poses. We have a library we've been developing for like over a decade full of poses and animations. So we have a ton of them. You can apply any iMotion file basically from iClone to your character. So any pose you have, just apply it to your character. There's a section here for poses in your content manager on the top left. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose a female pose. Let's choose this lookup pose, okay? Like that. All right, so there's our character looking up wistfully into the sky, and everything looks fine. All right. Now, one thing that just occurred to me is when I exported my character from Daz, I did forget to apply a T-pose to the character. So I'm going to load up Daz in the background and show you because that is something that is important. Not sure why that just popped into my head there, but we'll just go ahead and continue with this for now while Daz loads up in the background. Let's just actually make sure our character is in there real quick. So I just want to show you how to do that. It's a very, very important thing that was skipped out on, all right? It is in the tutorial for sure, but sometimes I skip doing the T-pose thing. All right. So with your character in Character Creator, as the Daz character loads in the background there, if you want to apply any custom motion to your character, you can go over here with the character selected and go to your motion pose. So here you can edit the pose, or you can edit the facial expression of your character. Let's go ahead and edit the facial expression really quickly. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in on the character's face. Again, lazy man's way to do it is just go over here to the expression tab, and you can choose any of these expressions, like a happy expression like this. Okay, there's a number of different presets you can choose. There's sad ones. Okay. For the one that I'm going to be using fear, since you'll see the Unreal project in a moment here. She's going to be a little bit afraid. Okay. So if you want to modify that expression even further, then you can go ahead and you can go to the modify tab and you can adjust the values here, or you can go to the muscle tab, which I like to do. In this case, I'm going to just take the chin here and click and drag the chin just to open her mouth slightly aghast. Okay. And we can use this erase clear selection button up here, and then just take her middle of her forehead here and raise that a little bit as well. Or bring that down. Okay, just like that. Okay, I think we'll just work with that. I don't want to modify it too much, but that's how you can use those two items. Okay, let's go back to Daz here real quick and throw in the wardrobe to our character. All right, very important to get that right. So again, with the character selected, I'll go into Character Creator here, and I'm going to just go to right-click on any, it doesn't really matter what you click on, it can be anything in your content library, and go to Find File. Just so you can find this one folder called Character Creator 3 Template. Okay, so with all of your, I have a slightly different directory structure from most people. I save all my content on the D drive, which is not my OS drive. So what you have to do is just go to the template folder, and for most people, it'll be like documents, Reallusion, and template. But you'll have this folder here, and Character Creator 3 Template under there. You'll find a folder called Daz Resource. Okay, and under that you'll find T-pose, and you want to apply the T-pose to your character before you export it. Okay, very important. So let's go ahead and do that. And with Daz open here, all you got to do is just click and drag the G8 T-pose, female T-pose, onto your character. Okay, just like this. There you go. And then we'll go ahead and export that. We'll see at some point if that imports in properly. But I do believe that this is not the problem, not the issue. So if it is, apologies in advance. Okay, so that's how to adjust the expression of your character. To adjust the pose, we'll go over here to Edit Pose, and I'm just going to select my character's arm here, the right arm, and use the E hotkey. So here you can customize the pose really easily. Okay, so use the E hotkey, and you can just bring the arm forward like this. Okay, just like that. Let's rotate it slightly this way, bring it up that way, and take the elbow and bring that elbow up. This. I'm just going to try to recreate that pose you saw at the very beginning. Okay, so we'll bring this slightly down, and the arm slightly down as well. Okay, so she looks shocked. We can take her wrist and bring that forward as well. And arm slightly forward. There we go. Okay, that should do. All right, just like that, and maybe slightly down. Okay, and then I'll just take this arm forward and rotate it, bring it up. And we want to just kind of recreate, again, that pose that you saw earlier. I don't want to spend too much time on this. All right, so, okay, 30 seconds of posing, this is what we get, okay? So we'll just go ahead and work with that. And I'm going to just show, we'll close down Daz for now, okay, since we already did that export, I believe. Okay, so let's quickly, I'm going to show you now how you can apply an atmosphere setting. So this is one of the new features with Character Creator 3 as well. In addition to the ability to customize the pose and the facial expression, you can also load in a custom atmosphere really quickly, okay? So the easiest way to do this, you can go over here to your stage elements, and there's an atmosphere section over here, okay? But say you're somewhere else, like in this like materials for some reason, you can go over here to atmosphere, and it'll automatically take you there, all right? So we have a couple of default templates that are included with Character Creator 3, like the sky on fire, the mask shutter, the rim light. I'll just show you the mask shutter one really quick. Okay, okay, so this one's pretty cool. It has like kind of a eerie type of look on the character. You can see like that. Okay, rim light, side cold. This is the Light Studio pack that I showed you earlier from that link that I sent. Okay, so this is a really good pack to get. Lots of really cool atmospheres in here, especially in the HDRI bonus folder down here. There's some really cool ones. I like this cave wall one, for example. Okay, so these presets here, these atmosphere presets, these include lighting. They include HDRI IBL images for the background. They include all the stuff. All the settings are basically included in these. If you want to customize them, you have to go to your visual tab here, and there's stuff like ambient occlusion, the HDR effect. You can modify that slightly. You can see there's a slight glow here, a slight bloom on her arm right here. This is very bright. You can adjust the level of the IBL. Okay, so there's the IBL level right here. You can bring that down and focus more on just the single lights in our scene. Okay, if we take that all the way down and go to our scene manager here, we have lights, just like in Character Creator, or just like in iClone rather, and you can modify the values of these lights here. Going over here, we can adjust the multiplier to like, 2, for example. It'll be a very bright light from that direction. You can adjust the darkness of the shadows and whatnot. You can adjust the intensity and the range, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to worry too much about that right now, okay, because this is all stuff that iClone has, and you're probably pretty familiar with it. Okay, so let's go back to our visual tab and pump up that strength there. Okay, so I like this one. It's kind of a cool like cave type look right there. Okay, I'm going to spend the next couple minutes just doing a quick render. The one that I like to use is this down here, Satara Night. This one's really cool, I think. And I'll show you why in just a sec. So when you say, for example, you're trying to be really creative, because this one kind of reminds me of like a magical kind of forest. I don't know why, just kind of get that vibe from it. One thing that a lot of people try to do is get certain reflections off the glasses. Now, in order to get reflection off of the glasses, you have to have your camera at a pretty different angle. Okay, so I was playing around earlier, and I got an angle about right here or so, I believe. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and give a quick preview for IRay here. Now, we're going to have a tutorial, I think at the end of this month or early next month, where Chris, aka Stuck on 3D, is going to be talking about all the cool stuff that you can do with IRay. He has a super fast computer, so he's going to be rendering those things, whipping them out in seconds. I highly encourage you to check that out. It's in our upcoming webinar webpage there, or it will be very soon anyways, in the next couple of days. So for IRay, it's pretty simple stuff, okay? Up here, there's an IRay preview. You can just press F11 to preview as well. Over here, there's the IRay settings, render settings, okay? And you can adjust all the different render settings. Okay, click on it. It'll open up this IRay render panel, and then your settings will be over here. We're going to have a tutorial at the end of the month on IRay settings. Important is to check out your hardware settings. Okay, you can see I have a GTX 970, so I'm like a poor man's render right now. Okay, I recommend not using CPUs. In most cases, it's crashed my computer a few times if I activate CPUs, unless your computer's a lot better than mine. Cores, I just leave it like this. Okay, so Chris will probably have like 250 cores or something like that. That's an exaggeration, obviously. But anyway, so there's the hardware settings. And again, we're launching a tutorial at the very end of this week that will provide you with more details on that. So let's go ahead and just preview this really quick, and it'll just take a couple of seconds to appear on my screen. And then I'll show you the angle that I used for my final preview. And then I'm going to load up Unreal and show you just a quick little preview of the project and how I imported the character into Unreal. Okay, so it looks like I used this wrong angle, but you do get a nice reflection off those glasses at a particular angle. It just has to be the correct angle to your character. Might have been a little bit lower there. All right. Anyway, so we're not going to spend too much time on that. That render angle also looks pretty cool. I really like the lighting in this particular atmosphere. Highly recommend checking out that Lightroom pack. Okay. The render angle that I used was like this one here. Okay. Because I was going to be using this as a promo image for the game, which I'm about to show you momentarily. So do something like this. Okay, and you can press F11 again to preview. And it'll just do the same thing, pop up with this window really quick. And we'll just wait a couple seconds and we should be able to see what it'll look like. There you go. Okay, so again, super slow rendering on my computer, but that's essentially how I created that render I showed you at the very beginning. Okay, don't want to spend too much time on the IRay. I do want to take a look at trying to import that character in one more time with the T-pose. I do hope it applies correctly this time. If not, apologies in advance, and it's just my computer because we've tested it on a few other computers and we couldn't recreate the same issue, unfortunately. So it's just my my old character. Oh, okay, here we go. All right, so this is what comes up. And dungarees, cloth, shirt, cloth. The sneakers, you need to define them as shoes, okay? And the braids, define them as hair. Okay, there we go. Cool. So just a quick blast from the past of the beginning part of this webinar here. That's what may happen if you don't apply the T-pose to your character. But it also did that with other situations in the past. So anyways, this is what will happen when you import in the character. And you can also apply, you also need to make sure that you transfer your clothing cloth to your character as well. All right, while we're doing that, let's go ahead and load up Unreal Engine in the background, because the final thing I want to show you is importing the character into Unreal Engine. And oh, here we go. Fantastic. All right, well, we'll at least be able to show you Unreal Engine anyways. If I can just get this thing going here. Let us use this method. There we go. Get out of here. All right, so I did load up Unreal, I believe. Let's make sure we did. All right, so apologies for the crashing there, guys. But again, always apply that T-pose. The T-pose has a couple of uses. And the first use is it basically allows the clothing on your character to conform closer to your character's body. So the issue I showed you with the OBJ file that I imported in at the beginning, you know, the character kind of popped out of her clothing there. If you apply the T-pose before you export your Daz character to Character Creator, then you will not have that issue, okay? There'll be less mesh breakage, and hopefully I'll be able to show you that closer to the end there. But I do want to show you this project that I have saved in Unreal Engine. And I guess we can probably try to load up Character Creator in the background as this approaches the end of its loading time here, hopefully. All right. Okay, so again, guys, any questions? Put those in the Q&A section of the Zoom panel there. Okay. All right, so we're loading up 2 apps simultaneously. Apologies for the loading time. Let's go ahead and load in this project, CC to Unreal project. So the only thing that you really have to pay attention with in Unreal is when you import your character, there's a lot of material adjustments that need to be made. And we did recently produce a couple of tutorials on that. Essentially what you need to do is make sure that your materials contain all the correct texture maps. And again, those tutorials go into more detail on that. Might as well search for them while we're loading up all this stuff here. Oops. Anyways, okay, Soul Cave, here we go. Let's load up the map here. And I don't have enough time here, I think, to show you guys a level of detail. But again, that is covered in the tutorial as well, just with a different character. Yeah, so the Unreal tutorials use a slightly different character, but essentially the procedure is the same. YouTube, there we go. CC2 UE4. Let's try that. All right, these are the ones 5 days ago. This one here is part 2. Not sure where part 1 is. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'll just put this in the chat window here. This is part 1 for Unreal to, if you're an Unreal user, this will be super useful for you there. Part 2. Zoop. There you go. All right, so here's a project that I have prepared in Unreal. And you can see it's the character, same character that we had before. Okay, so it is Paige with her semi-transparent glasses and her custom hair and everything in this custom scene. Now, with this character, notice that as I move further away from the character, it's going to change levels of detail. So the cool thing is, I'm going to go ahead and select the skeletal mesh of the character here, just to show you an example of this. What happens is when you import in a character, if you're using a character in a game engine, the further away your camera is from the character, the less detail that your eye needs to see. So essentially, take a look on the top left here. You can see the triangles currently are set to 113,000. Okay, so that's the triangles on this character's mesh. All right, and that's level of detail 0. Okay, there's actually different levels of detail on this character that we've applied. And again, I'm not going to show you that whole process. It'll take a long time. But if I change to level of detail 3, you can see, holy smokes, our character is like a little bit different. A little like the mesh is kind of messed up, and there's basically one single material on the character, and the material is, what is the size of the material? I believe this one is 512 by 512, okay? And you can see the triangles on the top left, 2,692. So when I change that back to LOD 0, which is the original character, so 113,000 to 2,000, a very, very, very significant reduction. Now, the eyes, the glasses, are something that I probably need to fix. You just need to create an opacity map, and I didn't check that out on this particular character. But you can see here, if I change to LOD auto, what's going to happen is as I move my camera away from the character, pay attention to the top left here. From LOD 1 or 0, it's going to change. Okay, so I'm just going to move away from the character really quick, and you can see it'll swap over about there. Okay, so you can change from LOD 0 to LOD 1 at about this distance. Okay, right there. So obviously at this distance, when you're playing a video game, you don't really need to see all that detail. So it basically reduced it by 90%. Okay, so we went from 113 triangles to 19,000 triangles right there. Okay, and that's covered in the tutorials that I just sent to you guys there. So eventually when you get your character into a project, it's going to look like this. A couple of material modifications. We can just go ahead and give this a play. And I also exported rather, a motion with the character. Okay, I just need to make sure that, okay, yeah, obviously here, okay. Make sure the character creator is actually loading in the background. Okay, and then I'll quickly show you how to export from Unreal. Very, very simple process, very simple procedure there. And take a look at all those tutorials that I showed you on the YouTube channel to kind of supplement this this webinar. I kind of just wanted to show you everything into one webinar here. Kind of tried to shove everything into a single webinar. So that's why time was a little bit restricted there. But you can see here, as we move away from our character, there you go, just switches LODs. And obviously a distance like this, you don't really need to see your character in much detail. But zoom in on the character. There you go. All right, so for the last couple minutes here, I'll show you that, hopefully show you that Daz import. If not, I'll show you the Unreal export again, but that's all covered in the webinar. So let's go ahead and try that import one more time. Okay, hopefully it's not going to crash on me this time. Choose advanced here, just so I can show you that that quick process that we missed at the beginning there. Okay, so it is obviously an issue with the issue that comes and goes. You see, you get gremlins in the computer once in a while, and it comes and goes. So that's the issue with my computer only. All right. Anyways, oh shoot, forgot to show the Unreal export process. All right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go to the Q&A section now, since I don't want to be messing around here too much. I want to focus on what you guys want to learn and any questions you might have. So we're going to just pop into the Q&A right now. Okay, so any questions you have, feel free to put those in the Q&A section, and I'll answer those as we move along here. And all right, go from there. All right, first question from Josh. Can this process, the transformer, work with other models other than Daz? So Josh, the transformer plugin tool with character creator can only be used with Daz characters, all right? So in case anybody wasn't clear on that, the transformer tool at this point is exclusively for Daz characters, okay? All right. All righty. Okay, so Sabine asks, can you use Character Creator 2 morphs in Character Creator 3? Yeah, you certainly can. All right, no problem. When you install Character Creator 3, it'll ask you to, if you want to import in your Character Creator 2 morphs during the installation process, and you just select yes, basically. All right. Okay. So really quickly, first, export to Unreal. Just go to File, Export, FBX Clothed Character. Okay, and choose Unreal Preset here from the top. And you want to make sure you embed the textures. Okay, if you want to include a motion, which I have the idle motion before, make sure you choose 30 frames a second. Okay, from this drop-down menu here, custom motion, and open it. And I just chose this stand idle eye motion here. Again, so there's the template folder I showed you before. Template, iClone7 template, iClone template, and then go to motions at the bottom here. LMNOP, motion. Okay, and here's all the motions from your motion library. So for example, I can give her like a street dance groove or something like that. Doesn't really matter. All right, and you do want to make sure you delete hidden mesh. Okay, very important, delete the hidden mesh. Okay, otherwise your mesh is going to show through. So the part that I showed you earlier where I did the auto hide mesh, if you don't select this option, then that mesh is still going to show up in Unreal, okay? So you're going to have the shirt poking through the overalls. For InstaLOD, the way you achieve those 3 different levels I showed you, make sure you select InstaLOD, make sure you choose Keep Original Avatar, make sure you choose Level 3 for LOD meshes, and normally I just use the automatic settings here, okay? You can adjust them down here if you want, but I just generally use the default settings right here. And once you export that, it'll export 4 different FBX files. It'll export your original, it'll export level 1, which has a reduced mesh, level 2, which has a further reduced mesh, and level 3, which has like the 2000 poly count. So it was like 19,000. I think this one was 6,000, and this one was like 2,000. Okay, and the texture size super low. You can probably take this even lower than like down to like 512 or something to further reduce the draw call in Unreal. All right. Anyways, we'll go to the Q&A here. Okay, so continue on with the Q&A. All right. So Ken asks, can we animate bones from the CC3 figure that are controlled by springs using keyframes in the iClone timeline? Okay. Spring bones need to be defined as extended bones. Now, we did have an issue with this. Somebody emailed me about this recently, actually. I believe in iClone, you can define the bones that you want as extend bones. I will have to load that up and double check, but we'll continue on, and I'll come back to that in a moment there, Ken. We have a whole bunch of questions here in the queue, so I'm going to try and get through these as quick as possible. All right, I can import figure morphs into Character Creator 3, but they don't show up in iClone. How can we make these morphs dials show up in iClone so we can animate them? Okay, so that's another process there. You actually have to kind of integrate the morphs into your character. I probably won't have time to show that. I'm going to get back to that in a moment there, Ken, okay? So let's go ahead, the next one here. Feature suggestion for Character Creator 3, symmetry for edit mesh. Yeah, I do believe we don't have symmetry at this point. So Ken is talking about for symmetrical editing. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of that. So it's probably a feature we'll include in the near future here. Next question here is from D. Are you guys going to do any quick action fighting scene tutorial, like martial arts in particular? Also, any way to make a character who have limbs amputated? Two really interesting questions there, D. The action fighting sequence tutorial, I did one a long time ago. I'll provide, I can probably search that up really quick here, actually. I think it's just called action sequence in iClone. It's actually from iClone 6. So a lot of the stuff is a bit outdated. This one here, dramatic fighting sequence. So this is, again, iClone 6, a few years old, but the only thing we didn't have back then was the curve editor, okay? Curve editor is very important for doing this kind of stuff. So this will get you started anyways. I'll just put this in the chat window there. But yeah, we probably should update that. It's about 3 years old now. So we'll consider, we do take feedback for future tutorials. So we will consider doing that in the future there. Okay, so, and for limbs that you want the limbs amputated. Okay, so for the limbs amputated, you can basically hide the mesh. Like I showed you earlier, for the character, if I wanted to hide the character's mesh, you know, just take off the arm. Now, again, that's a really cheap way to do it because you can still see inside the character. Once, if I took off her arm, for example, you could still see inside the character. So what you may want to do is actually go into a modeling program like ZBrush, export the character to ZBrush. And we do have a direct plugin that exports to ZBrush there. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Again, edit mesh here. Select this, all this stuff here. Face rather. Select all this stuff and just make it invisible. Whoops. No, wrong. Hide. There we go. So there we go. Essentially just chopped off her arm there. Okay. Well, most of it. There seems to be some mesh remaining. But the problem with that method is you can still see into the character's arm. Okay. So what you probably want to do is take you know, this mesh, and you can probably use our edit mesh tool to like move it together, I guess, but I don't want to spend too much time messing around with that. You could probably use the sculpt tool here to kind of push it and pull it into position. You may not even have to take it into ZBrush. You can probably just kind of sew her arm up, but just by using these tools. I've never tried, so don't quote me on that, but should technically be possible. All right, so Ken asks, can we create a keyboard shortcut to reset the figure back to default T-pose? Yes, that would be an excellent feature. So you don't actually have to go into the custom motions here, all right? So for example, if we had different pose, we didn't have to go back into this one right here. That's a very good suggestion. And I think that we'll take that into consideration there, Ken. Maybe something up here in the toolbar, like a T-pose button we can just press. Okay. Anthony asks, what if you want to pose your character from the middle of an iMotion file? Good question. So what you would do is you would just export that iMotion as a pose, basically. Let's give it a shot. Why was I in iClone? We were talking about the morphs. All right. Yeah, to save a pose for your character, pretty easy stuff. I'll just load up a character and apply a pose to her really quick. And let's just see, whoops, see what we have next here. Oops, my Q&A window closed there. Okay, I'm just gonna apply a quick animation to this character. It doesn't really matter what it is. Let's do a street dance pose. All right, so say for example, we wanted this pose. All right, press F3, go into your timeline there. And where are we? We're right here. Okay, so just basically click once in the collect clip track, right click, and select add motion to library. If you want to have the expression on the character's face included, then you select add motion plus to library, okay? Or to 3D Exchange, it doesn't really matter. If I add motion plus to library, this is all the data that's going to be included. Okay, press OK. And then we can just save it to wherever we want, okay? I can just save it to like my desktop, for example. I'll call this Groove, all right? And then we can actually probably just drag it, Groove, onto our character in Character Creator. We're gonna have an armless character. Oh, he took off part of her arm. She's like the Terminator or something. There you go. That's how you can add a custom pose, right, to your character. Again, you can easily just modify the pose in Character Creator using the process I showed you with the edit pose, but that's another way you can do it if you want. Okay, let's move on to the next question here. Jonathan asks, will there be an IRay plugin for iClone? Also in the material section, changing the color sliders is really slow on my PC. Yeah, okay, so in the material section, Jonathan, this one thing that I recommend doing is entering values. And this goes for everyone as well that are in the ghetto slow PC crew like me. If you want to, sometimes when your system's lagging, if you use the sliders, this goes for everything really in iClone and Character Creator. If you find that your sliders are lagging too much, what you got to do is just basically enter in the values. So like enter in like 20 and 25 or 30 or something like that, and it'll load a lot faster rather than sliding through, clicking and dragging your slider, okay? As for the question about IRay plugin for iClone, it is in the works, all right? Okay, so Anthony asks, can the lighting setups in Light Studio translate to iClone? Yeah, you can apply the, you should be able to apply the atmosphere. I'm not even sure if it's in iClone. That'll be found in here. Okay, so the Light Studio ones, they are in Character Creator. I believe you should be able to apply them into iClone here. Let me just give this a shot. You can probably try and click and drag them. Atmosphere tab. Let's try that, my favorite one there. Satara Nights. All right, we can probably just try and find the file actually. Right click and find file. Yeah, so it's called an iClone environmental file, so it should be able to be applied into iClone as well. Just not sure where exactly find it in iClone. All right, there you go. Looks pretty cool. She looks so intense. It's like an action movie pose right here. Yeah, so I'm not really sure where the should be in that folder. If it's anywhere, but I guess it only installs to Character Creator at this point. But you can easily apply it to iClone as well. All right, that would be a pretty cool IRay render right there, I think, with the leather jacket and everything. Ooh, key-dokes. Okay, Robert Bob Welch asks, before I export a character from Character Creator, it says to create a morph slider. How do I find the slider in iClone? Well, the way you create a slider in Character Creator is you go up here to create. Oops. There's something in front of my... All right, what's happening here? Oh, there we go. To create, there we go. It's just going super laggy right now. It's probably because Unreal is running in the background too. You can go to create new morph slider, okay? And you create new morph sliders from a file. You just like load in the file here. Just move my tabs out of the way here. Okay, and category for body. And basically you have to find the morph, okay? So for the morph, you can use like an iAvatar file, or you can use an OBJ file, okay? So the source morph, you need to make sure you apply the source morph here. And the target morph is if you've taken your character into like ZBrush or something, and you want to import that morph into your character or into your library, you import that here, okay? File, and so on and so forth. I don't have too much time to go into all the whole process there, but that's how you do it, okay? If you have further questions, you can always email me as well, kai@reallusion.com. That's KAI@reallusion.com, okay? For more detailed answers on these sort of questions there, okay? All right, let's move on to the next one here. Oops. Okay. So John asks a long question here. Let me just read it really quick. Okay, so John asks about IRay shaders that you have in Character Creator. You applied them and export to a third-party package such as Unreal Engine 4. Will it cause issues with the PBR materials? Because you're not able to export, as far as I know, the Lightroom atmospheres into Unreal Engine or any other software. The Lightroom packages and all that stuff, all the lighting setups, those are currently only available in iClone. I don't believe we can export the lighting setups yet. Okay, that's something that we're working on in the future. Your next question there was, are we going to support motion blur at some point? Okay, so motion blur, possibly. I haven't heard it being discussed yet. Something that is definitely a huge benefit to having Unreal Engine 4 is the motion blur, which I really like. But I can't really tell you much on that end because I haven't heard anything myself. So apologies for the non-answers there, John, but unfortunately, that's all I got for you in regards to that. Okay. Okay, so someone, all right. So thanks, John, for your feedback. So Kenneth asks, how do I bring in a character from Blender? Okay, well, you're in luck, my friend, because we're actually going to be we're actually going to be releasing a tutorial on importing your characters from Blender later this week or earlier next week. I'm actually working on that right now. Okay, so stay tuned to the Reallusion YouTube channel, and you'll get all the questions answered in regards to Blender for that. But I don't really have the time to go through that process right now. So apologies, guys. For more difficult questions, you may need to email me directly, since I don't want the webinar to go for like 2 hours or something like that. Okay, so Faraz mentions here that she found out the hard way through trial and error that you have to click on the box to bake textures when transferring Daz figures that are that are other than white over to CC3. They came out okay. Okay, so yeah, good point. When you import your character from Daz, you want to make sure if you choose the advanced option that there's a little thing on the top that allows you to bake the texture. Okay, so for example, you know, transformer, again, the process probably won't work, but let's try a different character actually. Let's try this, no, not this one. Page 01, this one, advanced. Okay. Hopefully this one will work, because this one definitely worked before. But I'll continue with that question there anyways. Faraz mentions that there is a big Daz texture solution. Let's close down iClone now, since it's taking up too many resources. There's a big texture checkbox, I believe, at the top of the window. I need to make sure that's selected. All right, let me just get back to my Q&A section there while this loads up. Take an advanced read of the next few questions here. All right, so we got to this point here. All right, so Faraz is mentioning this one here, bake body texture right here, okay? So bake body texture, and again, set all of this sneakers to shoes. Whoops, braids to hair. Okay, so with advanced, you want to make sure you select bake body texture. All right, so hopefully this will work. I believe that may be the issue as to why it wasn't importing incorrectly. If so, thank you so much, Faraz. That's you found it out through trial and error, and so am I, except live during a webinar. But I have, yeah, done that in the past. All right, let's just go to the next one here while this is loading up. Okay, so Ken asks, when we import a figure using the transformer, do we have to use transfer weights or does it do it automatically? So when you use the transformer to import your character, it'll do the weights automatically. Okay, if this one imports in, I'll show you that live. I believe it should be okay. Yeah, so it is baking the textures. So that is the thing that I missed. Again, this is kind of a new, we just kind of released this version a few days ago with the 3.01 update. So I still haven't gotten used to that, baking the textures there. All right, so again, it takes a little bit longer, and this is why it takes longer to bake the textures there. So make sure you click that bake textures thing, all right, that I didn't do at the very beginning. All right, oh, do I feel silly? All right, anyways, so the transfer weights, I'll show you in just a moment here, Ken. So we'll get to that once this is finished baking the textures. Let's move to the next one here. For Edith, Edith McNeil asks, do we still need to bake for darker complexion characters? Can new character creator 3 characters be modified now? Yes, you need to bake for light-skinned or darker skinned characters, both, okay? New character creator 3 characters can be modified. We're still working on that at the moment, okay, for the materials. All right, so we'll be probably getting that taken care of in the next update, which should be in the next within the next month here. Okay, I don't want to give too strict of a timeline, but that's, yeah, process there. All right, there we go. So we baked those textures and shabam, there we go. All right, problem solved. Apologies for that, guys. And there you can see the nice textures on our character. A little bit shiny, a little bit on the shiny side, but again, you can modify that. And there you go. Okay, so if we put our character into a different pose to answer Ken's question earlier, like the lookup one right here, okay, you may experience some mesh breakages like that, but again, you have to fix those the conventional way. Let's try something like this one, for example. Okay, so for this, myself, what I would do is I would take the shirt and probably just be a lazy man and increase the size. Zoop. Just like that. All right. And it pops through a little bit. So again, it's a tender balance of increasing the size and manually manipulating the mesh to get what you want. Sculpt, pull, and pull this bad boy out here, just like that. All right. Okay, anyways, you can just do that back and forth. Okay, so we got that fixed up. Let's go to the next question in the Q&A panel here. So that answers Ken's question about transferring weights. It does it automatically for Daz characters when you import them in using the transformer. Thomas asks, is IRay coming in with the future with iClone 7? Again, as I mentioned earlier, that one's currently in the works. Okay, can't give a detailed answer on that. Jacob asks, what is the advantage of bringing in the character from Daz? Lots of benefits. You can basically import in your entire Daz library of characters, and you can apply them, or you can basically get them set up with the standard character creator rig. Okay, so when I export this character into Unreal Engine or something, we have a game-ready rig that we can use for our character. Okay, so with our character selected, if I can get her selected properly, let's go out of edit mesh here. There we go. You can convert your character to a game base. Okay, and this allows you to really optimize your character for in-game usage. You can use multi-material for different parts of your character, or you can use a single material. Okay. And we'll have a tutorial on this in the near future as well. All right. So you can apply, basically that rig is optimized for game usage. You can take your Daz characters through Character Creator into Unreal Engine or Unity or whatever game engine you're using. The ability to apply any of the Reallusion morphs to your character is another benefit. We have tons and tons of morphs in our morph library. You can modify every little part of your character. In addition to the morphs, you can set up your character. You can animate your character in iClone, which iClone comes from a base of as an animation program essentially. So animation's basically our forte. Real-time animation is the forte in iClone. You can use our Motion Live real-time motion capture plugin. Okay, to animate your characters in real time with your own face, your own body, and everything like that. I can probably show you this character's facial animation using Faceware a little bit later if we really want. We can export her to iClone. Let's go ahead and go to the next question here. Let's actually export the character to iClone just so we can do that. Oh, crap. File, export to iAvatar. All right, let's just save it to the desktop here. Load iClone in the background. Well, I go to the next question because I'm going to show you a little bit of Faceware action. Okay, it's dark right here, so I got to turn on my my light. Hopefully the result isn't too bad. Okay, so Orly Rodriguez asks, will you be doing a tutorial on importing into Unity? Also, I own the older CC Essentials morph and skin. Can I use that version for CC3, or do I need to buy the new one? The old version for Essential Morphs and Skin is totally fine. Okay, it updates. You can use it in Character Creator 3, no problem. Okay, as for the importing into Unity tutorial, I'm not super familiar with Unity myself. I've used it in the past, but I'd probably need to study up a little bit before I do a tutorial on that. But it's very possible we can get a third party to create a tutorial. I believe John Martin has created a couple tutorials in the past with Unity and is fairly familiar with it. Yeah, so hopefully that's, we get asked about Unity tutorials all the time. So I can guarantee you that will come in the future. It's just a matter of time right now. Okay, so Cheyenne asks, can you set the atmosphere to load each time as a default in Character Creator 3? I don't believe so, unfortunately. I haven't actually tried that. Could be in the preferences. If I don't see it in here, then nope, probably not. No, it doesn't look like it. All right. Sorry, guys. Okay, so you can't do that, unfortunately. That's something that we can probably again, you can just save your project, but that's something that we may want to incorporate in the future. So you can email me. Any feature requests you guys have, just email me, and I'll pass them on to our developer team as well. Okay, kai@reallusion.com. Josh asks, is there an LOD auto setting for Unity that you know of? Again, not too familiar with Unity, Josh, but there's certainly something like LOD within Unity as well. I focus most of my projects on Unreal. Jacob asks, is there a good tutorial for creating characters in Character Creator? Yeah, definitely. From the main web page, I'll just show you quickly here. Oh, stupid. Here we go, Reallusion. Let's go to 3D animation, Character Creator. And on the top here, features, learn and support. Okay, learn, there's tutorials right here. Okay, and all the tutorials should be categorized. Okay, so these are Character Creator 3 tutorials right now. Let's see. We have the online manual. The Character Creator 2 tutorials are right here. Okay, there you go. Character Creator 2. So click on that, and here's all the tons of tutorials that I've done in the past on how to create different characters in various ways. Okay, recommend checking these out. They basically are the same process as Character Creator 3. All right. So hopefully that answers your question there, Jacob. I'll throw this in the chat window just in case. Seems like a few people have been. Again, I want to emphasize, guys, don't use the chat window to ask me questions. Use the Q&A window, okay? Because I'm not going to be looking at the chat window other than to put links in there. Okay. So hopefully, Erwin, I just answered your question about importing custom poses into Character Creator 3 when I did the little save custom iMotion there. Jeanette asks, will there be a tutorial on Lightroom? Yeah, I think that we definitely will have a tutorial on Lightroom and customizing the lights in your scene. If you want to learn more about that, Jeanette, I'd highly recommend, again, checking out Chris's tutorial, Stuck on 3D. He's going to be doing a tutorial, I believe, end of this month or early next month. Check the webinar page to keep updated on that, and he'll talk about the atmosphere settings and everything. Okay, so Lenny asks, can Character Creator 3 export to Unity without 3D Exchange? So here's the rub. Although you don't technically need 3D Exchange to do that export, you do have to purchase the 3D Exchange as part of the pipeline in order to export. So basically anything that you want to export to external software, Maya, Max, Unreal, Unity, you need to have 3D Exchange pipeline. Okay, so right now it's a separate program. You don't really technically need to use the program, but in order to bypass any sort of DRM protection issues and whatnot, you do need to have that program because it'll just look for the license of that program when it's exporting. All right, Lenny, so hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, you do need to have 3D Exchange pipeline to do that, okay? That's where they get you. All right, so Isaiah asks, in Unreal, are you able to use subsurface substances on Character Creator 3 characters? Yeah, you can do subsurface scattering with the IRay plugin, but I've never done that myself, Isaiah. So unfortunately, I can't really answer that question definitively right now. So apologies for that. That is something that we can probably explore in the future using subsurface substances on Character Creator 3 characters in Unreal. I think that might be a little bit down the road at this point, but yeah, good suggestion. How do you change, Sam asks, how do you change the default character's skin color? To change your character's skin color, pretty simple stuff. You got to go over here to your appearance editor for your character and make sure that your character is selected. And whoops, the appearance editor doesn't currently load for the actors. Okay, just be aware of that for your characters in Character Creator 3. So this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. I need to go to materials and change the materials there at this point. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Or that's what the imported character is, like I mentioned there. I believe the regular characters should have no problem loading the appearance editor. But for these custom characters, you do need to, I believe there's no way that you can, nope, not right now. Unless you change all these to basic, I believe. Let me just actually see this, what I'm looking at here. Braids, yeah. Yeah, I don't believe so at this point. All right, but for regular characters, for sure you can. I just don't want to load in a different character right now at this point. But I do want to load in the character that I exported earlier into iClone. And we'll throw an atmosphere in there as well in just a moment. So I'm just going to show you the face wear really quick. So Sam, yeah, changing skin color is pretty simple stuff. I'd recommend checking the tutorial that I showed you, or that I provided a link for on the in the chat window there, on how to customize your character skin color. I can probably just do it in Character Creator really quick. I'll move on to the next one while that's loading up. Okay, so John mentions at the moment only human Daz characters can be imported. Are you planning on letting us import other Daz characters, non-human, such as dragons or horses? Yeah, we've had a lot of requests for that, John. That is, I'm not sure how far off it is, but we have recognized that as something that a lot of Daz users want, the ability to import in dragons or horses. Unfortunately, that requires a whole new, basically starting from square one in terms of harmonizing the rigs together, the character rigs. So those will be custom rigs. You can import them in as props for sure. But as for being able to animate them at this point, not yet. Okay, so you'd have to kind of pose them before you imported them in at this point. Okay, so Charles asks, which is an easier workflow, game engine for Character Creator, Unreal or Unity? Well, as I've mentioned, I'm kind of a partial judge on that one. I use Unreal myself, Unity, not so much, not for the last year or so. So I don't really have much experience with the new workflow and Unity myself, so I can't really answer that. But Unreal, pretty easy, except for the material stuff. You just have to throw a couple of materials around and go from there. Okay, I just want to quickly show the previous question about activating the appearance editor. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. So this is available only for clothing right now, not for the character base with the Character Creator 3 characters, unfortunately. Okay, so we are working hard on this this stuff right now to get that taken care of. But unfortunately, right now, no substances on the Character Creator 3 characters. Right, but we're working hard to get that taken care of. All right, so which Reallusion apps, Jacob asks, do you need to create and animate characters for Unreal Engine 4? Well, you definitely need Character Creator 3. You need the, if you want to export it to Unreal Engine 4, you need 3D Exchange pipeline, okay? You don't necessarily need iClone, but it comes basically packaged with 3D Exchange at this point, okay? So yeah, you just basically get that iClone pipeline, all right? And iClone's well worth it too. I mean, it's just a little add-on that allows you to, not a little add-on, it's a big program that allows you to do a lot of stuff, but you do need, technically you need 3D Exchange pipeline and Character Creator 3. Okay, so Tyler mentions we just talked about a working appearance editor for CC3 based characters. Okay, so that's the thing I just went through. That is, I've been informed in the new patch, in the next patch that's coming out. So not sure when that'll be. Unfortunately, I don't have a solid answer for that, Tyler. So apologies for that. So Jacob asks best online stores for content. I can answer this one. The content store, yay. All right, so the content store, reallusion.com/content store. I'll throw this in the chat window for you, if you guys, in case some of you are new and are not aware of the content store. All right, get all your stuff here. All right, we provide customer service for the content here, and the marketplace as well is available. Marketplace.reallusion.com. Marketplace. The difference with the content store and the marketplace basically is not really curated by us. We don't do a lot of customer service in the marketplace. So anything you purchase from the marketplace, basically your customer service is the developer themselves. Okay, so you contact them directly. And the marketplace, we also don't really filter too much. Okay, obviously for obscene content or whatever, we do have to filter, but for quality, it could be hit and miss. There's a lot of really good developers who have really good stuff, but again, the content store contains all the Reallusion certified content. Okay, marketplace has a lot more content, but again, there's trials available in the marketplace as well, so you can download the content as a trial to test it out before you buy as well. So you don't really have to worry about that. I highly recommend checking out the marketplace. Just for, if you can't find anything you want in the content store, definitely go to the marketplace. All right. Oh, we've got to get through all these questions. Seems like the more questions I answer, the more questions there are. Okay, so I'm going to skip a couple of questions here. Charles asked about Unreal Engine versus Unity again. I can't really say much about that in terms of graphics. Jonathan Hill asks, does the UE4 export to the standard UE4 third-person skeleton? Yeah, we have a tutorial where we talk about doing that. So you don't have to export your own custom character if you want. Basically, when you import a character in, there's one very important thing that you need to do. When you import your character from an FBX, let's do, where am I here? Too many windows open. So I'll just show you what pops up when you import into Unreal Engine. Okay, so this is the window that'll pop up. And if you want it to be applied to the Unreal Engine 4 skeleton, just select it from here. Okay, obviously you need to have that skeleton in your project, which I don't. So if you load up the third person project, it'll have the option for the other skeleton, and you can simply apply it to the other skeleton. Okay, and we have a tutorial on how to do that in our YouTube channel. Okay, so I'm not going to do that right now, obviously. So I hope that answers your question there, Jonathan Hill. Erwin asks, I have an animation and I want to make sure the clothing fits properly. What would be the workflow for that? Unfortunately, it's kind of trial and error there, Erwin. You can export a single frame from your 3D editor as a pose, definitely. Any poses you think might be a little bit extreme, where your character's mesh might pop through. But again, the solution to most of those problems is to just use the auto hide mesh. Okay, I use auto hide mesh all the time because it's just, like I mentioned, the lazy man's way of making sure that you don't have your character's body popping through the shirt. So the pose I showed you earlier, we're switched off now, but you can obviously solve that by using the auto hide mesh. Okay. Isaiah asks, is Unreal a good way to do animation as well? The IRay seems real long. Yeah, IRay will take a longer time to render for sure. just because it's photorealistic rendering, and you need to have a fairly good video card for that. Animation in Unreal, they don't have all the tools that iClone has some fairly decent. You're basically doing, you know, frame by frame editing. In certain cases, you can blend animations together. For general character motions like running and walking and stuff, it's very useful using the locomotion tool. But yeah, iClone is better for custom motions for sure. It's a motion tool, iClone. Oh, great. Okay, here. Cecil asks. Okay, so Cecil, you seem to have a question about your 100 realistic heads pack there. For that one, just please email me, kai@reallusion.com, KAI@reallusion.com, and I'll be able to answer that for you. I don't want to go into too much detail on how to find that stuff in all the folders and stuff. Okay. Yeah, so Pavel mentions you have to set up the T-pose. We're back at questions from 605. You have to set up a T-pose in Daz before you export. Yes, that's very correct. And that's something that I didn't do during the Daz export. Okay. All right. Still got a few questions here left. Anthony asks if you want to add clothing onto one arm, like a combat arm for a mech armor pack or something like that. Anthony, if you want to do that, use the same process. Use the create and cloth hair accessories. We can choose the simple OBJ or whatever. But this time you want to import it as a, you want to make sure you import it as an accessory and save it as an accessory. Okay. So we don't want to transfer the skin weights. We do want to have it attached to our character. Okay. And let's go to the next one here. Yeah, so D asks about the posing, you know, and character mesh poking through the poses. Obviously, the ideal thing for that is hiding the mesh, like I mentioned earlier. I'm not going to go too much more detail on that. Okay, so a couple more questions about exporting to Unity. We will have those in the future. Okay, that seems to be a fairly high demand tutorial topic. Okay, so we can probably do that in, I'd say, late November, early December. It would be what I would, because we do have a certain queue of tutorials that we're doing right now. Okay, so John asks, is it viable to do a full scene setup with animation of body and characters and send everything to Unreal at once? John, to answer that question, what I would do is I would save, you can save your entire scene in iClone as a single FBX file. And that's using 3D Exchange. I don't have time to go through that process, obviously. But yeah, export the characters separately from the props in the scene, okay? As a rule of thumb, you want to separate your characters and your environments and export them separately. Okay. Yeah, so to answer Dee's earlier question about the character creator 3 characters, modifying the characters using the appearance editor, as I just showed, we cannot do that at the moment. Unfortunately, that's going to be in the next update. Okay. Okay. Kurt asks, is there a quick solution to fix textures that become stretched after sculpting a character in ZBrush and sending it back to iClone? The smoothing, I often find the smoothing feature I showed earlier with the sculpting, with the edit mesh in iClone, the smoothing tends to fix things like that. Sometimes you may have to do manual skin weighting, and we do have a tutorial that's importing Daz content into Unreal that talks about manual skin weighting. All right, I don't want to use too much detail here. Daz to iClone, or is it no OBJ to iClone? Yeah, this one here. This tutorial talks about manual skin weighting. Let's put this in the chat window. Okay, so yeah, that often solves the problem, because in this particular tutorial, there's a part where I do import in the custom character clothing, and it is stretched, and I use skin weighting and smoothing to solve that problem. Okay, so hopefully that tutorial there helps you, Kurt. Okay. Kurt also mentions, is it only character creator compatible characters that are able to use faceware, or any character with some facial bones? Currently, it's any character really, but I'd recommend using character creator compatible characters. Obviously, they have the most detailed blend shapes on the face, but technically you can use any character. Characters with bones and stuff like that, you can import in using 3D Exchange. We have tutorials probably, way back, like a few years ago, where we imported in characters using facial bones via 3D Exchange into iClone. As long as you have them in iClone, you'll be able to animate them using the faceware. It's just that the results may not be anywhere near as good as the character creator characters, but you will be able to drive their facial animation. And again, it depends on how complex the character is as well. Okay, so simplified characters maybe not as accurate, but more detailed characters will be more accurate. Okay, so Abraham asks a question about exporting Daz 3D characters to Character Creator 3 to Unreal Engine 4. So hopefully you followed along. That's what we basically just went through. Any more questions about your particular product there, Abraham, just give me an email, okay? Email kai@reallusion.com. Okay, so D asks about leap motion, the leap motion arm and hand. Is there any secret tips that I have on how to use that? To be honest, when I demoed leap motion for probably 4 days at SIGGRAPH in August here, I didn't have much of a problem with it. I'm gonna sneeze here. Yeah, I think leap motion for me, I didn't really have much of a problem. I can't really give you any specific tips. Make sure just you're in a well-lit area. Oh, got that sneeze coming up here. Anyways, yeah, I can't really give you any specific tips on it. Other than that, just keep your hands, about a foot, maybe half a foot over the actual sensor. But in terms of hands and stuff going crazy, one thing that people run into that may be your issue is if you're doing the leap motion control simultaneously with body capture, this may cause an issue. So what you need to do is in your body capture, you need to disable the hands and the arms for example, perception neuron. Okay, so you need to disable that when you're if you're using it in tandem with the leap motion. Otherwise, it's gonna be basically be two conflicting data streams, and it's all gonna be focused on your hands. So it's gonna be like taking data from both perception neuron or leap or XSense or Rococo, and it's going to be conflicting with the information you get from leap motion. So make sure that you turn off the hands and the arms from your capture, from your body capture. That's one issue we came across. Okay, sneeze averted. Helene asks here, will Character Creator 3 be able to work with quadrupeds in the future? That's wishful future for a lot of people here, and we did discuss that briefly a little bit earlier, and hopefully it's something that we can incorporate, but I can't give you a specific timeline for that, unfortunately. Thomas asks about iClone's timeline is different from the markers. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you can elaborate on that, Thomas, or just email me. So yeah, Erwin asks about you're interested on specific frames from your animations. Hopefully I answered that, how to save your certain frames from the animation using the export to motion, or not not motion live, export iMotion. Yeah, okay. Okay, so Abraham, I think maybe you have a lot of questions. Just email me and I can give you some one-on-one attention for your questions. I don't want us to kind of waste time kind of floundering about here on different topics. Okay, weird. So Thomas, you seem to have that question about the timeline, your frames not being consistent. So email me about that because I need to see a picture of that to kind of get more description on what you're talking about there. So Charles mentions here when you export a character creator character to iClone and then back to character creator, the texture editor doesn't let you edit the character goes back to the default morphs and textures and doesn't let you modify the texture again. Yeah, you need to save your character creator files, character creator projects. Okay, because when you export to iClone, it may convert to traditional shading. And also, if you want to modify any of the substance materials, you have to do that in character creator. If you take it to iClone and back again, you'll experience issues with that. So the pipeline is generally meant to just go from character creator only to iClone, okay, and not really back and forth. Okay, hopefully that answers your question there. Ooh, okay, long question here from Sebastian, right, closer to the end here. Are there any plans to change the blend shapes that are currently being exported for FBX export? Currently, there is a fixed set of blend shapes that is export with each character. There is already an interface for expressions that match the exported blend shapes, but there doesn't seem to be any way to select, deselect blend shapes for export or add our own custom blend shapes. Ideally, I like to export all existing morphs as blend shapes, like Daz LOD. Okay, so Sebastian, yeah, you can definitely export, or you can definitely add in your own blend shapes. This needs to be done in 3D Exchange, okay? I suggest maybe email me and I can provide you with more details on that. You can import in your own custom blend shapes, and you can export as many as you want into FBX format. Okay, so there's really no limit on the amount of blend shapes you can have on your character. You can import or export, right? So I'm not sure where you're coming across that issue, but you do accomplish that in 3D Exchange. Okay, so Edith has a easy to answer question here about long hair from Daz won't conform to the Daz character's body. Is there a way to correct that? Since your hair will generally export or generally import in almost as an accessory. So for example, your character here, maybe I should just show you the faceware real quick before we, I'll show you guys how easy faceware is at the very end here. Yeah, for importing your Daz character's hair onto the character's body, it essentially imports as an accessory. And it won't be imported as skin weight or anything like that. Okay, so unfortunately, you don't have that option for that, Edith. Okay. Kurt asks, will there be an image plane in Character Creator 3 in the near future to model a character from a reference photo? There is a way to do that. You can import it as a prop. You can import your image as a prop, I believe. I don't know if I have like an image here. Is this an image? That's an avatar file. Let's just take some goofy old image here. Nope. Okay, you need to do that in iClone first. So what you would do is you would import your image into iClone. Okay, just like this. Oh. Make sure you click and drag, right click and drag, okay? Right click and drag it. Okay, like this. And import it as a billboard. Yes, a billboard. And you should be able to save that as a prop. I do believe. Yeah, so just save it as whatever prop, doesn't really matter. Press the plus key. Billboard. Okay. And probably you'll want to have a better icon than that. And then bring it into character creator, blah, blah, blah. There you go. All right. Then you can move it up like this. And it doesn't rotate because it's a billboard. So it'll always be facing the camera. All right. So that's just a kind of a workaround. You do have to import it as a billboard into iCloud there. And you can see it appears as a prop billboard in the scene manager there. All right, so we're gonna cut it off there, guys. I really apologize for missing out on the bake texture part on the Daz import there, and thanks again to Ferris for pointing that out. I should have probably looked at that earlier. Again, this is just a new kind of modification that was made in the last few days here, and so I hadn't gotten used to that method yet. Okay, it used to be automatic, but just make sure again, do not embed the texture when you're exporting from Daz. And make sure that you add the T-pose, again, something that was also an issue, and also make sure you bake that texture from the main panel there. I guess I'll just do a little bit of let's do an atmosphere here just to send you guys off in style. It is a little bit dark in here at the moment, but hopefully we can. Ooh. Okay, might not work out as intended. Wow, she's looking pretty oily. All right, so that might be another thing with the new method of importing. So faceware, let's do it really quick, and I'll send you guys off in style here. Let's load up our real time for faceware and load up the plugin. I just want to show you this Daz character. Oh, there's me, but it crashed. Let's try and close down Unreal. You can see I have a black background there. Okay, there we go. All right. Hey guys, okay, so what we're gonna do is calibrate a neutral pose. And then we'll go into iClone, go to plugins, Motion Live. Come on, Motion Live. There we go. Faceware real time, connect that. So make sure you have Faceware real time selected for our character. And here we go. All right, there we go. Okay, there's me and the beautiful Daz character that we imported. All right, so again, guys, sorry about the little Daz snafu there, but I just wanted to send you off in style and show you how you can import your character into Character Creator 3 from Daz, and then export it into Unreal Engine with different levels of detail. And of course, finally, bring it into Character Creator with, or bring it to iClone rather, and apply the Faceware real-time animation to it, mocap. All right, so I think we'll set it off there, guys. Thanks so much for attending. And as always, make sure you fill out the survey for us. We're going to email that survey to you guys, and we'll be providing you a 10% discount for the content store. And as well, we are recording this, so hopefully, if you watch the recording again, skip through the first part where the bake texture was not included and the T-pose wasn't included, and we'll go from there. All right, so thanks so much for attending, everyone, and make sure you check out Chris's tutorial coming up end of this month or early next month on IRay. Okay, you'll learn a lot more about beautiful rendering that way as well. And yeah, we'll sign off from there. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And that's it.